Dr. Jeff talks love. Dr. Jeff talks life. Answers your questions, cuts through the strife. Sex and intimacy, real and true. Evidence-based, made just for you.
Good evening and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Dr. Jeff Talks About Sex and Intimacy, a podcast dedicated to helping you improve sexual health, help you to deepen intimacy and strengthen your relationships. How do we do that? We do it through honest conversations and evidence-based guidance. So I'm your host, Dr. Jeff Albaugh. No matter where you are on your journey, this is a space for learning, for connection, healing, and best of all, for hope. This episode is episode 73, From Performance to Presence, the new masculine in intimate relationships. Whether you're watching live or listening to the recording later, every moment of your amazing life matters, and I am again just truly grateful for your presence here. Thank you for being here. We are connected across so many platforms. We are on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on X, we're on LinkedIn. If you are a Facebook person, please follow us. The more people who follow us on Facebook, the more we can do on Facebook. And we thank you for following us or liking us or whatever you're doing. Thank you. Visit the website. On the website, you can learn about all the amazing things that we are doing, and you can learn so much. You can watch the previous episodes. You can go to the calendar and see what's coming up next. So many different things. We have these incredible experts, and all you have to do is pull up the past episodes and watch them, or pull up the calendar and see what's coming up next. We are so you can take us wherever you're going. We are streaming. We are on Spotify. We are on Amazon Music. We are on iHeartRadio. You can take Dr. Jeff Talks About Sex and Intimacy while you're working out. We can work out with you. You can take us in the car as you're rolling along. You can learn more about relationship, sex, and intimacy. All good. As always, all are welcome here. Whatever your sexual orientation, whatever your gender identity, your relationship style, this space was created for you, and you are so welcome here. The mission of the podcast is really easy. It is simple, and there are no hidden agendas. It is to empower and enlighten you with the evidence-based, that's the science-based information that improves your sexual health and deepens your loving relationships, so you can live this one miraculous, wholehearted life with more love. And I don't know anybody who doesn't want more of that. So tonight, we are exploring a powerful and evolving conversation about masculinity, emotional connection, intimacy, and relationships. For many men, intimacy has long been tied to performance, to achievement, and the pressure to get it right. It's all on you. But what happens when we shift that paradigm, when we shift away from proving ourselves and towards emotional presence, authenticity, and safe connection? All things we've talked about previously on the podcast. What happens when intimacy becomes less about performance and more about awakening, about healing, and truly being seen? Joining us tonight is Mike Elliott from the Sacred We podcast, who has supported thousands of men and couples in reframing intimacy as a path towards masculine liberation, sacred relationship, and deeper emotional connection. Now, together, we're going to discuss masculine-feminine polarity, emotional safety, relational healing, and what it means to really cultivate intimacy through presence instead of pressure. Presence instead of pressure. Whether you're single, partnered, healing, or simply curious about how you could create deeper connection in your relationships, this conversation is going to offer some insights, reflection, and hope. So my guest, Mike Elliott is the creator and the host of the Sacred We podcast, where he explores conscious relationships, emotional intimacy, masculine feminine dynamics, and personal transformation. Through his work, Mike has helped thousands of men rethink traditional ideas of what masculinity is and embrace emotional presence, vulnerability, and authentic connection as pathways towards deeper intimacy and relational fulfillment. I am super excited to welcome my guest, and that is Mike Elliott. Mike, welcome to the podcast and to a fellow podcaster. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, such an honor to be here. Thanks for the intro. Excited for our conversation.
Definitely. So much to talk about. So I am going to let you kick it off with just, the work you do sounds just amazing. And I'd like to hear more about it. And I know our listeners would too. So I'm going to hand it over to you for a little bit so you can tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah. So my name is Mike Elliott. I'm a relationship expert and a men's coach. And there's a reason I'm in this field of work, and it's because relationship has been the most painful part of my life. It has been the messiest part of my life. So I've gone through an initiation as a boy to man to really figure out this most viable part of being a human being on the planet. The reason for this is, when I think of my own journey, the places that are the messiest have been when I have a poor relationship with my thoughts, my emotions, my body, with other people. And I first want to talk about a bit of my journey that describes why it was so messy, because there's so much in this. When I entered the world, day one of my existence, I was separated from my mother. Mother is the very giver of life, and I was separated from her day one. I was adopted a second time at 14 months. You can imagine the amount of trauma that happened from an experience like that. And I'm sharing this because it's really important. Most of our adult experience, the way that we see the world, is formed in the first 3 years of our life, and that includes the year where we're in our mother's womb. That forms that experience of safety, enoughness, belonging. And so it's really important to go back and look at that part, because I'm going to share a brief description of what happens when we don't. I just kept living through life, not knowing anything about trauma, expecting my parents to maybe support me in that process. There's so many patterns that have played out in my life because of what happened to me in that beginning stages of entering a body, and the patterns started to play out. Hard to keep relationships. I started to, at a very young age, I found porn at the age of 8, and I used it to self-soothe the distress that I didn't even know that I had. I started doing drugs. I was kicked out of my house on the day of grad. I became a debt collector for a big-time drug dealer in Vancouver. I then became a drug dealer. I found myself in a situation in a drug den with a drug dealer holding a sawed-off shotgun to my chest, jacking rounds out of it. And in that moment, I looked in his eyes and I said, do it. There's a part of me that wanted to die because I couldn't figure out why I felt so broken inside, alone, confused, insecure, overcompensating by working out like 2 or 3 hours every day to try to feel strong. But no matter what I did, I didn't. And then these patterns played out again and again. So then I gave it all up. I ended up following the American dream, got the high-paying job, multiple 6 figures a year, got the house, the theater room, the brand new truck, paid off in the driveway, the jet boat, the gorgeous wife, and I was miserable. 7 years in marriage. She walks in one day and says, she's done. It's over. Oh my God, again. Hit the dark night of the soul. So defeated because I was working so hard. I was performing like a master, good money, the status. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't satiate or satisfy a woman to want to stay in life with me. So I recreated day one of my existence. The one that mattered the most to me left. Talk about defeat. Then I sat in the darkness of that. I wanted to end my life. I couldn't handle this pattern playing out again and again and again and again. And then 2 days after that dark night of the soul where I just was considering ending it, God showed up in a really interesting way. A buddy of mine sent me a message and he said, "Hey man, here's a soul coach. Reach out to him, work with him. Do it." Like, he was fierce about it. He's like, "Don't even try to wiggle or squirm out of it. The way you're doing it is not working." So I listened to him. Biggest investment I've ever made in my life, thousands of dollars. And something started to shift immediately. This man started to initiate me into an experience of another man I had never tasted before. I'd never been in proximity to. This man was so present that I just started to feel a bunch of feelings. I had no idea why, but I was crying in front of him. And all of a sudden I was feeling angry and frustrated and all these things. And he just kept being present with it, kept reassuring, being kind, reassuring. And this happened again and again and again and again. And something really beautiful started to happen. My life started to get exponentially better. I started to get to know what my unique gifts were, and I felt inspired to bring them into life. All of a sudden, I started to question the job that I was in and move in a completely different direction. All of a sudden, I started to attract people that were treating me kindly, that were treating me with respect. I attracted amazing partners. And then it started to make sense. Oh my God. This is the power of healthy relationship. This is the power of doing work as a man, processing all of the experiences of my childhood so that I can be a healthier, safer man in the world. Now, when I go and attract a partner, now I'm married, I have a 4-year-old son, and I support people in their journey so that they can experience high levels of health. And when I look at my life now, it's only possible because I decided to go repair all the reckonings of relationship that I made, that made me who I was, that formed my belief systems, the way I saw life. And when I started to reconfigure my experience from life by going into my own experience and integrate it, game changer. All of a sudden now life is beautiful. All of a sudden now I feel a sense of belonging. And it's my forever mission to bring this to as many men as possible so that they can feel the satisfaction of being a safe man in the world who can actually offer over the ingredients that people are thirsty and hungry for. Jeff, like you said in the opening, who doesn't want more love? The only thing that heals the non-love is love. In order to be able to give the experience of love, we have to feel safe and secure in ourselves. And so my belief is an under-resourced man is a dangerous man. And so it's our responsibility as men to learn what is resource, what creates the feeling of safety inside of us so that we can experience the satisfaction of true embodied leadership, bringing that safety to other people so they can soften and settle and let go of the things that they are carrying that are pushing them into a way of performance. Once we drop all the performance, we actually get to feel safe to be our full expression of self. And who the heck doesn't want that?
Well, wow. So what a journey you've had. First off,
Wild ride.
That's pretty wild. You've had a rough ride getting here, but I like where you got to, which is really cool. Definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think you bring up some really important things, and we've had episodes. We had one episode on showing up as your authentic self in relationships. We've had things on presence, a lot of the different key concepts that you're talking about. But I do think, first of all, I applaud you because ultimately all of us want to show up and be our very best self. And I think that takes work, and it's not always easy. So you've done the work, and that's great.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff.
And then I do think that the men out there, I think it's really a struggle to think. I think it starts from a place of we don't believe we're enough. I think inherently most people don't believe that. And so we think we have to perform. We think we have to hustle. We think we have to do all these things because we couldn't possibly be enough. Would you agree?
I'd say, yeah, there's two things I want to add. Yes. And I'd say from all the experiences and over the years of supporting people in really intimate containers, I've watched the theme. Men often have the deep wound that they carry of I'm not enough. Women carry the wound, and find your own sexual orientation in this. I'm just describing the people that I end up supporting and how I've seen it. Women who have a womb, that's what I'm talking about. Women with a womb, they carry this incessant wound of I'm too much.
Wow.
And then this creates a really big confusion when trying to be in life together. And then this is where we can get into the nuances of gender, because we're now talking about polarity. The part of the experience of human that wants to be in a masculine expression, we're talking about the energy of becoming. When we're talking about feminine energy, we're talking about the energy of being, softening, surrender, receivership. And so that energy of being is very unpredictable. It's forever changing. It's chaos creative. Whereas the becoming part is very penetrative. It likes adrenaline. It likes friction. It likes to see what it can become. But if these two aren't dancing well together, if the feminine isn't informing the masculine, we now have a dangerous situation. Now we have a situation where we're going to perpetuate the experience back and forth with people of you're too much, or you, no matter what you do, you aren't good enough. You're not offering enough. And then this is where if we are lacking polarity inside, we perpetuate it outside. And so I want to speak to one piece there that's important to understand. No one is bad or wrong. We're now actually just facing where we're at as humanity, where we're at in our evolution, and we're now experiencing the symptoms of disconnection from the healthy roles of polarity, which is mother and father. Mother's role is to create the feeling of safety in her body and life. The role of father is to create order, boundary, structure, the banks of the river. If mom and dad aren't relating well together, they aren't going to have the resource to attune to their child in the way that they need to be attuned to create the feeling of enoughness and I'm not too much. My needs matter. I belong. That when I have a desire and I move towards it, that I am capable of doing that, of being that. But now we're facing disconnection in a global sense, a hyper-individualistic culture. There's healthy cultures in different parts of the world. They aren't performing because they don't need to. They're integrated. They have the healthy mother and father inside. They feel safe in their body. They know who they are and what they want to create in the world. And there's no rush for it. They don't have to do it to receive the love that they're looking for. Whereas us in our culture, North America, wholly different picture. Disconnected homes, disconnected culture. You have to ask permission to go to the bathroom in school. Like, what the hell? That is so disconnected from nature. That is such a strip of sovereignty. And so now we're in this place of refining our power, pushing against and finding where's that healthy place where we both get to be here and we get to be different.
It's like finding that middle path always, that balance between the yin and yang, but even between the becoming, both really important things. Neither is more valuable than the other, the becoming and the being. I think it's really something, especially those who identify as men may find it difficult to just be. It's always about hustling and improving and performing, and it's not about just being. I always say these last couple decades of my life, I'd like to learn to be a better human being and just be more and stop doing so much and becoming and things like that, right? It's really challenging, I think, but it's finding that balance, however you identify. And all of us have some of each of those things in us, right? The becoming and the being, the yin and the yang, that polarity. It's there. It's finding that middle path.
And this is what, this is where that middle path gets to come together and unite. This is where, and Joe Dispenza describes this in his work, this is where we get to double down on who we're being in the doing.
Wow, that's powerful. Who we're being in the doing, in the becoming, in the work you're doing. Who are you being? That's powerful.
Because now what it's informing in my work, I describe as gentle power. What humanity is thirsty for is masculine energy that is in touch with who am I being in the doing, because what that is now informing is relational attunement. Is there consent in how I'm penetrating life with my power? Am I aware of how my power is impacting people around me? If we aren't, we got a problem. But if we're really focused and checking in and taking responsibility of who we're being in the doing, well, now we actually have a relationality. Now we have true leadership. So anyone listening, you might wonder, what's the definition of leadership, Mike? Well, this is the way that I live it. I've learned the other way, which is divide and conquer, perform, get status. I didn't like that way. It led to divorce and wanting to kill myself. It sucked. So if you want a different definition of leadership, I'll give it to you. Someone who is clear in the direction that they're going, that the decisions they make create an environment that nourishes you and the people around you.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good definition, definitely. So how, Mike, are our listeners, how do they begin that move away from this, this goal-driven society that we are, of we have to become, we have to be more, we have to do all that? How do they start the shift over to this other way of being a little more and be really working on presence and authenticity, all the things you said? What are some of the steps that we take to get there?
In the work that I do, I've created a method. It's called relational authority. You can write this down and follow it. It's made up of 3 pillars. The first pillar of relational authority is initiation. I'll describe these in more depth, but I'm first going to name them. Initiation, integration, and inspiration. And what I've personally found is life is always initiating. The definition of initiation is pressure and tension that squeezes a human from childhood into adulthood. That is the purpose of initiation in ancient healthy cultures. Now, when we look at life itself, life is always initiating. I think we can all feel this place in ourselves where there is pressure and tension in the relationship, in our work, in the politics. If we don't see that life itself is always trying to initiate us into a higher level of thinking, we will feel victim, or we want to bring our power to try to control the external circumstances to feel better. That is disconnection from nature. Initiation, the way that it looks, when somebody is embracing life's initiation, I want everyone listening to find a moment where this has happened, where all of a sudden your thoughts just disappear. You have an insight, an aha, you're in the shower and you have this creative idea, or you have this thinking about somebody and you get out of the shower and then they text you and you're like, whoa, what just happened? Life is always creating these situations where it's initiating us, giving us a key that is going to unlock us into a higher level of power and potential. If we start to recognize those moments of initiation, we now move to the second pillar. We capture that initiation, the insight, the aha, while you're listening to this show or a podcast and something new perspective shows up. You now have to integrate it in order to be a new person in life. To be the being in the doing happens in integration. So let's say you have this idea to write a book. If you now get that information that's coming from life itself, inside, inspiration, inside of you, in spirit, if you take that and now capture it into a new way of being, working with somebody who's going to teach you how to write a book, if I looked at your schedule, for me to tell if you are integrating or not, is I could look at your schedule and see, whoa, you really care about becoming an author. I can see there's these times that are chunked out for you to become this person, to build relationships, to do it well. Amazing. That's integration, being in the doing. And what I've learned is if somebody integrates the first 2 pillars, initiation and integration, and starts to live that new way of life, something really beautiful starts to happen. Is that person starts to live from an organic place of inspiration. Now, all of a sudden, you get more serendipitous moments. People now all of a sudden reach out and want to work with you. Now, all of a sudden, you're attracting people that you didn't even know existed that help you feel so seen, heard, and understood. which, just so you know, that's what leads to higher levels of health. Relationally, we need that. This is the place where you get these creative ideas, and not just that, the energy from within you to go do the thing. And now life becomes in service to you because you are integrating your life. You are finding your unique expression and you are bravely bringing it into life, living from a place of inspiration.
Yes. And so we've got the 2 pillars. You want to talk just a bit more about that third I pillar?
Yeah, so that's the third pillar. And again, I'll say it again. So the first 2 pillars, when we do those ones well, what organically starts to happen is, because we're integrating a new way of being, life mirrors back a new experience that leads into more insights, more clarity, more creativity. It leads to people just starting to come towards you, and you don't have to go after it and get it. Prime example in my life. I got a message in my life when I used to be a trades guy. Like, it's insane to think about when you look at my life now. I've been on 30 something podcasts in the last few months. I have a podcast and I support high functioning people heal their developmental trauma so that they can become their highest expression of self. That's what I do now. I used to be a plumber. I used to plunge toilets. This is crazy. And to make sense of this, I really started to say yes to life's initiations, and I started to integrate them. And what started to happen is some voice inside of me started to say, Mike, you aren't meant to be a plumber. And I started to listen to those. I started to get curious of, well, what should I be moving towards? And I started to do my own work that I've described. And then I started to get training and mentorship and spiritual coaches. And I started to move in the direction that this voice inside of me said, Mike, dude, you are here to serve people. Your life is a train wreck, and look at what you've overcome. Bring that into life. That came from within. And so the inspiration is, life started to speak to me that is not just from my head and other people's modalities and structures. This is where my heart started to inform my head. And I want everyone to know this because this is important. Our heart has been studied and it has been proven it has its own infinite intelligence. It's really inspiring for us to then get to know how to feel what's in our body, what's in our heart, so we can feel to heal, and turn that instrument on that's going to give you the whispers. The heart speaks in whispers. Those whispers are pointing you in a direction that is going to set you free. When I decided to listen to all these whispers, eventually life said, Mike, leave plumbing. This isn't what you're here to do. And then my little voice in my head said, what? How am I going to do that? This is crazy. This is what I'm used to. This is what's familiar. And the voice said, do it, burn the boats. Like, get off your island, burn the boats. I've got you, do it. I left, ended my business. Within the first month, I signed 7 coaching clients, high ticket, high tier. I made more money in the first month of that business that is more aligned to my soul than I did in the last 4 months of the other job that I was just good at. And that was just at the start, and it's been exponential since that moment. That's living from inspiration.
Okay, so I got it. You got the initiation, the beginning, and then it integrates into your mixing the being and the doing, which captures your spirit and creates the energy that causes the inspiration, the third pillar, right?
Bingo. Relational authority.
Wow, that's cool. I think that's really, really great. You kind of spoke a little to the second question that came in. What have you learned from the thousands of men and couples you've worked with about what people are truly longing for underneath their surface of sex, conflict, or relationship struggles? What is it that thread? And you talked a little bit about the theme and thread, but what would you say to that?
What people are truly longing for underneath the surface of sex. Over the years of doing this work, sitting with people with a lot of power, this is where I've learned it, I'd say, the most. I've sat with so many men with a lot of power, a lot of influence, a lot of yes men around them. And when I sit with them just one-to-one in a container of safety and all the performance drops off, they start to just expose places they've never shared with anyone. They start to actually let go of everything that is on top or that has created the performance. And the thing that they've needed is safety. I think every human being is longing for the experience of safety because that's what we were meant to get from our mothers. There's some people in the relational space that say it's what we're supposed to get from our fathers. My belief is the father is meant to create his own sense of safety to offer it to the mother so that she can give the true embodied experience of the tenderness, the breast milk, the reassurance, the kisses on the forehead, the physical experience of I've got you, you matter, you get to be little, I'm going to protect you. And if a human being gets that, what I've watched happen is that person comes into their power without them having to find it. And so I'd say every human being needs to feel safe in their body and their experience. And if they do, they will naturally reach higher levels of health.
Wow. Yeah, I think safety is a really big deal. And so I would agree with that. And we've talked a lot about that on the show. And I think it's a really big deal. You think it's one of the fundamental foundational needs, basic needs. When you look at Maslow and other people, that's like safety is something we all have to have. And I know working with a lot of trauma patients, I find that safety is something that they really desire and want and feel like they don't have. So we work a lot on that, but I do think it's a really core important thing. The other question that came in is, my partner and I are struggling with balancing independence and closeness in our relationship. How do we allow for healthy intimacy together while maintaining individuality and still cultivating deep connection? It's that balance again between that growing together, working together, cultivating the deep connection, but still being their own selves, their authentic, true individual selves.
Such a rich question. Thank you for who sent that in, because now what we're describing is intimacy. This is how I look at it. Intimacy can be a feeling. Lots of people think it's, oh, I want to feel intimate. Okay, great. Now we need to get granular. Let's bring order to that. What is intimacy? Two people creating the ingredients that feel safe for both people. Intimacy is safety. It's an agreement of saying, if we're creating a friendship as an example and we want to experience safety, I need to get to know the owner's manual of Jeff. Like, Jeffrey, what has happened in your life that has formed your way of thinking, your belief system, your orientation? Because the better I get to know your owner's manual, I will know what relational ingredients to offer where you feel seen, heard, and understood. If you feel seen, heard, and understood, you're going to feel safe to expose more of the human parts that are vulnerable, that are messy. And then that'll give me permission to also do that. And if you get to really know my owner's manual and all the sensitivities that come from 2 adoptions in the first year and all the inadequacies that live inside of me, well, then I'm going to feel safe to be more of that version of myself. And then that's what's going to create healing. So for the one that asked that question, I see this in so many couples. There's such a desire to be close and connected, but there's an equal desire of, I don't want to be controlled. I want to be myself. I want autonomy. I want sovereignty. I want independence, which, yeah, of course, it feels so good to be that. But when those two worlds come together and we learn how to honor and respect the independence in each other, to support it, to encourage it, to celebrate it, then, oh my goodness, we'll want to support it in each other. But that requires an adult perspective. It requires us to make an agreement that I want you to win in life. I want you to get to know your soul and the way it wants to express that music that's inside of you. Tell me what it is so I can protect that against society and other people. And I can be your number one fan for you to become that. And please be that for me. And then also, how can we drop into the sensitivity of these bodies that store trauma and information that need comfort and safety and reassurance, eye contact, a hand on the back, kisses? That's the feminine part. How do we be together? allow whatever comes up in that, move that energy through our relationship so that we will now have the strength and the sovereignty to go off into life and do the hard things.
Yeah, I think intimacy is a big deal. And it's one of those things that people, when you ask people and you look in the research, people say it's something that they want desperately, but it's also something that they are most afraid of because it
Oh, yeah.
requires vulnerability. You know, as Brene Brown so beautifully says, there's no path to it except through being vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable. But vulnerability is the path to creativity and love and all those things. But it's also, of course, we shield ourselves because it's the path to sadness and hurt and pain too. But I think intimacy is so important. And although we're really afraid of it, we all want it. I think of intimacy too as like that deep communication where you truly feel seen and heard and valued authentically by that other person without feeling judged, that you can show up for real and this person's got your back. And those of you listeners out there who've had this, it's everything. When you're in those moments, to be present in a moment when you feel authentically really accepted and valued, it's a beautiful space to live in and to thrive in. And I'm sure that's where it sounds like some of your healing from trauma, some of your healing from the different things you struggled with occurred in that space of being able to show up authentically and be seen, heard, and valued.
It's everything. It's everything that allowed my healing to happen because I tried to do it myself from my head. I was the guy that listened to all the personal development books. I read all the books. I went to the Tony Robbins events and my wife left. I was depressed. I wanted to kill myself. I didn't realize how much mental masturbation I was engaging in, trying to feel better and free. But what I was actually looking for in all of those books was connection. I was looking for the answer of what's going to give me the ingredient that will bring me the connection I lost day one of my life, that I still haven't gotten over. The amount of grief that I carried because I lost my mother and I didn't know that that's what I was chasing. Wasn't chasing money and the status. I got it and I felt dead inside because I still, a little part of me wanted his mom back. But once I started to move towards people who had the qualities of mother that could hold space for the sensitivity of my human journey, everyone has their own version of trauma. And for anyone to make sense of this, trauma is just energy or an experience of life that is too much, too fast, too intense for us to be able to integrate it. So it gets stuck, shows up as numbness, dissociation, freeze, shock, fight in the nervous system. But if we don't have safe relationship, and this comes from Dan Siegel's work, he has studied and proven that to reach higher levels of health, we have to integrate our already lived life. That means we need people safe enough to hold space for us as a human being to let go of all the energy that is stuck in there. I'm sure you know this and have seen this with your clients. Once the energy can move and mobilize, we're watching the healthy healer that lives in every human being turn back on and do what it knows how to do if there's safe relationship. Dan Siegel's work has proven integration only happens when we have relational attunement. That is the only way to get new information. We have to feel and experience that we were missing when we couldn't integrate what happened back there. This is why when I started to be held in relational containers, all of a sudden my body started to let go. It cried and feed and angry and boundaries and shame. But I was attuned to in it. And then the more I was attuned to in it, I grew up in my thinking. I grew up in my belief in myself. And that happened in relationship. Too many people are walking around in the world thinking that the problem is outside of them. Problem is with their partner. Yes, maybe they're doing shitty things, but ultimately it's a problem of disconnection. The only way through it, the wounding happens in relationship. The only way to heal it is through relationship, but relationship with people who have done their work, that are offering over adult, mature, safe ingredients, intimacy, for there to be a re-experiencing of it's safe to be vulnerable.
So it sounds like, Mike, what you had to do was get out of your head and into your
Oh,
heart, and it's hard to get out of your head because that voice in your head is a culmination of past traumas, of negativity. And you got to challenge it and move into your heart, into that true self that is healed, that is whole. And it's not always easy to make that journey from head to heart, but it sounds like you were able to definitely do that. And it's such a big deal. Definitely.
yeah, the longest journey we'll ever make, head from our heart. But it's so one worth making and taking every step of the way. Because Brene Brown, there's a reason 65 million people have watched her speech around vulnerability. Vulnerability as humanity, we think is our weakest link. But she has proven, and she speaks about and advocates for, vulnerability is our greatest power. And I want to go one layer deeper. Every single one of us has a unique wound. If you're in a body, you got a wound. It's the ultimate severance to come from the most amount of safety inside of your mother, protected from everything, fed everything you need. And then leaving that is a wound. And then everyone's wounding is unique and different. That forms a way of thinking. And my belief is it's our honorable walk to get to know what that wound is and overcome it, because our deepest wound is our greatest medicine to the world, because it means we have to walk through it. And if we can walk through it, as an example for me, if I can go through the layers of my own darkness, guess what? When someone's sitting in front of me talking about where they've been raped, abused, watched their mother get shot in front of them, just horrific things, where they've cheated on their partner and slept with prostitutes, pedophilia, I can sit there and hold space for it because I'm not afraid of it. But if I don't walk through the darkness of my own wounding, I can't love what I'm looking at front of me. I'll run from it. This is the greatest gift we can give humanity, is walk through our own darkness so that we can bring light to it, and then shine the light on everyone else's darkness. And then together we get to just feel safe together. No more fighting.
Boy, it sounds like a beautiful concept for the world if we can just get there. I know we're certainly struggling with it in the United States, and
Totally.
everything's a battle. And I think, like Mother Teresa said, if we have no peace, it's because we forget that we belong to each other, that we're all part of something so much greater than ourselves. We belong to each other. So it's like saying to your hand, I hate you, you're wrong, and punishing it when it's your hand, you need it. So I think when we learn to see and feel the beauty and the true self in others, in relationship, as you said, it's just so important. And again, getting out of our head with the problems and the things and the thinking, and into our heart and connection with others, that's where true healing occurs. And you've really done a beautiful job of talking about that. And I think challenging our listeners to step into that space of healing.
Yeah, that's my prayer. I am hoping that I'm the pressure and the tension that has initiated you into new way of being and the doing, that's turning towards the places or avoiding. The way that I see it in humanity, it's the doom scrolling, it's the Netflix specials one after another, it's the soothing with food, it's the substance abuse, the pot, the drinking, the meds, all of these things to try to soothe the discomfort of your soul is trying to birth into the world. Those things aren't going to set you free. They make you feel more disconnected because it's not aligned with nature. But when you move towards people that are safe, when you listen to Jeff and take in all these conversations and all the work that you bring to the world, your medicine to the world, when we bring in higher levels of thinking, we don't need to soothe with all of those things. We actually get to start to feel alive again. We get to drop the mask. We get to stop the lip injections and all the things to try to make ourselves feel better. And we actually just get to start to play really good in the sandbox and enjoy the experience of just being. Like, wow, I'm enough just the way that I am. Don't we all want that? That happens by turning towards self.
Definitely. And again, when we talk about all that, even in the relationship, you can't love anybody if you can't love yourself. So it starts with that self-love. And one more thing that I was thinking about, we could talk forever about this, but another thing that you excited me about was, you hear people say over hurt people, but hurt people who have done the work heal people. That's the difference. I mean, is that not correct? I mean, the thing is, yes, hurt people. When you're walking around hurt and your pain and trauma are all we're seeing from you because you haven't dealt with it. Yes, hurt people, but hurt people who do the work on themselves and learn to be their best self and love themselves and love others, help people and heal people. Would you agree?
Oh man, you're giving me chills. Beyond agree. And I'm going to borrow that one because that's it. There's so much maturity because there's a radical self-responsibility to accept that healing is required. When we do the work to create the environment, remember what I said, leadership, clarity in the direction we're going, that the decisions create an environment that nourishes self and the people around. That means we need to know, where are my wounds so that I can tend them well so they will actually heal. Because if we know how to do that, then we know how to offer over those healing ingredients to someone else, being like, hey man, you just fell down. You got to stop for a second and just take a break. Hey, let me help you there. Let me help you wash that wound. There's a relational experience in that. And when we can offer that over because we took responsibility saying, I'm hurting, instead of hiding it, instead of covering it up, and there's no judgment here, but if we cover it up with all the things, then we won't ever give ourselves the gift or the grace of, yeah, I need to have a good cry. Yeah, I need to be angry and have boundaries with my dad. Yeah, I need to go, whatever the version is. Once we do that and we do that work, how you beautifully described, we get to heal other people. You know how good it is to be in what I describe as relational reciprocity, where both people in the relationship are constantly giving gifts back to each other to create more safety. We're just healing together. Oh, talk about joy.
That's where we're co-creating, really co-creating some beautiful things, and it's really can be exciting, and it is accessible, and it's real, and I guess we're both here and excited about it because we want it for everybody. Once you've experienced some of that, and that doesn't mean that now Mike and I are like, oh yeah, our lives are perfect and everything's in. It's like trauma, it comes back in, and you got to keep doing the work. My friend told me, I'm like, yeah, therapy went good. I think I'm done. He's like, nah, that work is never done. That work is never done. You're always working on yourself. Definitely.
And that's the honoring of life itself. That is a deep wisdom that you shared there, because every single one of us, to be in a body, to be part animal and part brilliant intelligence, higher levels of consciousness, that means accepting we will misuse our power. We will misstep. We will say the wrong thing. We will hurt people. We will judge people. Man, I make so much mistakes. If you saw me in my day-to-day life, you're like, whoa, man, practice what you preach. I'm like, yeah, I know, totally. And then I come back in, and I recognize where I fell asleep at the wheel, and I immediately go into the process of repair. Oh my God, sweetie, I'm so sorry. God, I got triggered. I was actually scared. I'm so sorry I said that. That's not about you. That's about me. Oh, can I hold you? Yeah. I'm so sorry. Can you look into my eyes? I'm here. I love you. I'm going to work on that piece.
Yeah, it's so true. And so again, what do you do? Because it's going to pop up then, because you're going to get triggered. Things are going to happen. And I always say to my patients too, I say, yeah, I know all the concepts. I teach them this stuff to do with relationships, but sometimes I suck at them. And my wife can tell you how bad I am at them. Trust me. Yeah. So we're all human. And so it's a journey. We're all on it. We do the best we can. I am going to go to our centering exercise and come back to you for a final message. You've given so many good final messages, but just a couple sentences from you and me to close out this episode. But first, I want to bring people back into their beautiful, amazing body. So as we move towards closing this episode, I just invite you to take a few moments to reconnect with yourself and that miraculous body that you're in. May not feel that way every day, but that unbelievable body that you exist in. If it feels comfortable, gently relax all your muscles and get into a comfortable position. Put your feet flat on the floor, or if you want to recline, whatever is comfortable. If you want to put your hand over your heart, you can, or your abdomen, or you can rest your hands in your lap, wherever it feels comfortable. And if you feel comfortable as well, gently close your eyes or soften your gaze as you start. As you allow your shoulders to soften, your unclench your jaw. We hold so much tension in that jaw. Relax the muscles in your abdomen and back and pelvic floor. Just release. Take a deep breath in on a count of 4. And gently, slowly exhale through your mouth on a count of 5. Again, in your nose. And slowly, gently out your mouth. Continue that breathing pattern. Inhaling fully and exhaling slowly and releasing. And as you release and exhale, just let it go. Clear anything that may be not serving you. Let it release the tension, release anything. Every exhale lets you relax further into that chair or whatever you're on. Notice, let go of the pressure, the striving, the performing, the expectations. Let it go. Notice that you do not have to earn connection through performance. You don't have to earn connection through performance. You do not have to prove your worth through perfection. True intimacy begins with presence, truly being in this moment, present, with safety, so important, with safety, with allowing yourself to be seen. Keep breathing and quietly remind yourself, breathe in, I am enough. I am enough. You are more than enough. I am more than enough. I am worthy of connection. I am worthy of connection. I can show up with openness and authenticity. I deserve relationship rooted in trust, safety, and love. I deserve relationship rooted in trust, safety, and love. Take one more final deep breath in from your abdomen. Slowly exhale and release. Remember, you are so much more than enough. You are so much more than any wounds, anything that you're feeling or sensing. They don't define you. You are so much more than any of that. Well, Vic, can you give us a little sense of what is coming up next week on Dr. Jeff Talks About Sex and Intimacy?
Low desire is the #1 sexual complaint among both men and women. Yet it remains shrouded in shame and misunderstanding. In this episode, Dr. Jeff is joined by renowned sexologist and researcher Dr. Susan Kellogg-Spatt for a panel discussion on desire discrepancies. If you're tired of feeling broken or navigating a relationship where you feel out of sync, this conversation offers expert, actionable advice for reconnecting, both in and out of the bedroom. Join us on June 2nd at 7 p.m. Central Time to learn more.
It's going to be a great episode. And gosh, this has been such a good episode. And Mike, I think we could probably talk all night about all these good things. Showing up, presence, authenticity, such good things. And I love that you encourage our listeners to do as we've done and try and move out of your head and into your heart and continue that journey into connection and love. So any final words for our listeners as we close out the segment?
If something in this really hit and landed for you, my invitation is to contemplate these two phrases. What would your life look like if you stopped moving at the pace of ambition and started to learn how to move at the pace of connection?
Wow. Something to ponder, listeners. Gosh, don't think for a minute that we both don't get it, and that it's a universal truth that we feel less than, that we feel unworthy, but we are so inherently worthy. Don't forget that. You are everything you need to heal is inside. Connect first with yourself and then with the amazing, beautiful people who have earned the right to be a part of your story that are around you. Thank you so much for being here, listeners. And our hope and prayer for you is that you find that peace and authenticity in all your relationships and more love.
Who's Dr. Jeff talks about sex.